based on the handshake. So what does that mean? Let's wait and see how that is going to pan out. On page 2 of the Standard, we also have a story there. Somalia cuts ties with Nairobi. And this, of course, is as President Uhuru Kenyatta was with Somaliland President Msambweni. And this was an announcement that was made at the wee hours of Tuesday morning as to the Somalia cutting ties with Kenya. Now, Kenya has been accused by Somalia of interfering with their independence, and this, of course, being one of the reasons. Remember, we still also have had issues with Somalia in regards to maritime, issues with a case which is before the ICJ, the International Court of Justice. But the move by President Uhuru Kenyatta to host self-declared Somaliland President Msambweni Abdi at State House may be what was the trigger or the catalyst that made this decision be reached suddenly, with them saying that there is a bit of arrogance and, coming from Somaliland. Ongoing maritime border dispute over the lucrative Indian Ocean oil and gas reserves at International Court of Justice, of course, being another issue. Then Somalia also accuses Kenya of harboring fugitive Jubaland minister who escaped prison in Mogadishu in January. So with all those coming together, now there seems to be an issue where they say and gave a directive that Kenyan ambassadors in Somalia to leave within 7 days. They also recalled all their, ambassadors to get back to Somalia immediately. So that row continuing, and we have it well covered on page 2, giving details and context of what that is all about. There's an interesting article on page 3, excuse me, of the Standard, where is black still a beautiful bias against dark skin? Here with us, and we have a picture there of Lupita Nyong'o, but that, of course, is more to do with entertainment and looking at it from a perspective of, is black still beautiful? A wonderful article on page 4. Kenyan scoops top UN award, and Zambi Mate, who converts plastic into building material, was among youngsters globally fitted for their efforts to save the environment. A wonderful, wonderful story here where we have Zambi Mate, UNEP's young champion of the earth for Africa, holding a paving stone made from recycled plastic at her industrial area factory. This, of course, is in a bid to ensure that we have, environmentally friendly material being churned out. And she won that award. Congratulations to her, of course, putting Kenya on the globe yet again. On page 7, we have a story that is going to likely make, is going to be one that will be following up right here on KTN News, and that is to do with the impeachment of Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko. Now, he had gone to court to try and stop the impeachment going on, but court issues substantive ruling at 3 p.m. Now, the tricky part about this is that the Senate is going to sit in early in the morning from about 9:30 a.m., but the court ruling is going to be given at 3 p.m. So, of course, that's going to be overtaken by events. But through lawyer Harrison Kinyanjui, Sonko was pleading with Justice Ndumanderi to restrain the Senate from subjecting him to trial over allegations of misconduct. Now, according to the lawyer, he says that the reason for this is because he will not receive fair justice or fair trial by virtue of the fact that he is not privy to some of the accusations that had been put before the court, before the Senate, by the MCAs. So he needed that information for him to defend himself. But that has been overtaken by events, and from 9:30 a.m. we expect Senate to be seated, and remember, his trial is going through plenary. The same way that we had Babayao also go through plenary and was impeached. So is Sonko going to be impeached? That remains to be seen. And of course, right here on KTN News, we're going to be keeping our eyes on that and getting that to be done. Now, the first medic, or rather a medic, is the first Kenyan to get virus jab in the U.S. That's COVID-19 jab. We do know that we have vaccines being rolled out currently, and we have a Kenyan who is a medic, the first Kenyan to receive the jab. And on Monday, as the United States began the long-awaited rollout of the Pfizer and BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine, the two frontline health workers across the states, a Kenyan-born and trained doctor, made history as one of the first recipients of COVID-19 vaccine. Of course, there's a lot of information and misinformation going round in regards to the COVID-19 vaccine, but there you go. We now do have it rolled out in the US. I believe the UK as well has also rolled out, and we're waiting to see how that's going to pan out. According to some of the statistics that have been given so far, it is likely to reach Africa in 2021 and beyond. And there's an article on page 6 of the Standard why poor countries face long wait for COVID-19 jab. And this is, of course, giving details and an overview and context as to why it's going to take a little bit longer for COVID-19 to get to poorer countries and, of course, third world and inclusive of Africa. Experts say that chances of coronavirus shots will be shared fairly between rich nations and the rest are fading fast. So there is a question of how fair they're going to be as they're sharing that out. So let's wait and see how that goes. And page 10, still staying at that, patients at risk as nurses-doctors rivalry plays out. We do know that there is currently quite a lot of rivalry between medics as this continues. While nurses and clinical officers or clinicians have been on strike since December 7th, they have not been called to the negotiating table, unlike doctors, and they feel that this is not fair for them. Now, part of the old rivalry, according to the nursejournal.org, the love-hate relationship between doctors and nurses dates back to the 1950s and 1960s. So this is not something new. It's not something that's starting off right, in the onset. Considering the first nursing school was created by Florence Nightingale in the 1950s, a period when a man was considered superior to a woman. Most of those who joined and trained were female. And there's, of course, that disparity between also pay of female nurses and male doctors. So that's a story that's right there. BBI is good for central Kenya. This is according to Senator Gideon Moi. And the leader is urging Kenyans to read the document carefully to confirm its gains and support the initiative. And, he's in support of the BBI in central Kenya and says that, an addition of constituencies in the central area, central province region is definitely going to be a plus for central Kenya. And as a result, he is urging Kenyans, and more so those in central Kenya, to read the document, understand it, and support it. Let's now take a look at the Daily Nation, where we have the headline as the mighty fall of Sosion, the SecGen for NAT. Feisty trade unionist and defender of teachers is now facing a tough time with 109 out of 110 secretaries in the different offices in the country signing off that he should not be allowed to contest for another term come next year. And they are now 90 branches secretaries petitioned the cabinet secretary for labor to bar Mr. Wilson Sosion from seeking re-election as NAT Secretary General in polls next year. That's an article there that one might want to read. Also on the Daily Nation, it has also covered Msambweni, a day of chaos and arrests and bribe claims. There was quite a bit of, chaos in this particular by-election. And that leaves us, of course, as Kenyans also wondering, have we really made progress when it comes to elections? If a hotly contested by-election like this is likely to raise that much, issues between legislators and leaders, and to a point where there was even voter bribery claims and all manner of violence, then one is left wondering, are we getting any closer to peaceful elections? The answer is out there with a jury. Why Ruto changed his mind on BBI is also an article that you'll find in The Nation. And two of Deputy President William Ruto's allies have said his camp will no longer oppose the Building Bridges initiative. Although when you read the article, according to those two, one of them being Oscar Sudi and Daniel Rono, well, according to them, it does give a better foothold for the deputy president come 2022. And as a result, they say that they're not going to oppose it anymore. But we'll wait and see how that is going to pan out and what that means. We do know that the deputy president, right from the onset, was against the Building Bridges initiative, raising certain issues. Remember, even at the launch at Bomas, he was one who came out to say that there are certain things that need to be sorted out. Now, there has been progress, according to him, in regards to some of those issues that he raised being addressed, and they have been sorted out. So there seems to be a warming up to the Building Bridges initiative from the deputy president and those within his camp. Now, according to this particular article here, we have why Ruto will not oppose the Building Bridges initiative. And as I've mentioned, it is, well, according to these proponents, those who are in support of it say that it's because it will also benefit the deputy president come 2022. And there is page 4 here, Msambweni erupts in confusion, chaos as voters keep away. And speaking of which, I would like to maybe just now take a look at what that has been, and we have the announcement of the winner by IEBC. So maybe let's listen in and hear a little bit of that as they now confirm who the winner is from Msambweni.
Nitashirikiana na wao tufanye kazi pamoja kwa ajili ya maslahi ya watu wa Msambweni.
that is the independent candidate from Msambweni, Feisal Abdallah, who scooped that Msambweni seat, which was somewhat hotly contested and in some cases unexpected. There's all manner of political undertones that his win comes with. And now we're joined via telephone by Honorable Sakwa Bunyasi, Member of Parliament for Nambale. And Mheshimiwa, thank you for joining us. Maybe let's just start with what are your thoughts on that win by an independent candidate in what was seen to be an ODM, stronghold for a long, long time. What does that mean, in your opinion?
I think, thank you very much, Michael. I'm sorry to get on late. I think it means, I see several things in that. One is that maybe the views of senior leaders are not the views of Wananchi. And clearly, the people of Msambweni have made their selection. That's one. I think the second thing is that even though the candidate was an independent, he was clearly allied to the DP. Clearly means the DP has got this one up over ODM. And it tells me something, Michael, that even in our general elections in the country, if we are just patient enough and to get IBC to do the right thing, the people will shift powers from one person, one group to another, depending on whether they're satisfied or not. Democracy can work. So if this was not entirely open, there was a lot of violence and intimidation.
All right.
The people of Msambweni have spoken of.
Okay, now we do know that the ODM leader Raila Odinga is on record as saying that this by-election was going to give an indication of how Kenyans have received the Building Bridges initiative and what they have been campaigning for. Now that the ODM candidate Omar Boga has lost, do you feel that this gives any indication of what Kenyans feel about BBI?
Yes, I think it does. Now, first of all, Kenyans had focused on this substantially as the litmus test along the lines you've just outlined. And clearly, there is an outcome. I think it's time for everybody to get back to the drawing board. I think that the proponents of BBI, and you see this was being supported strongly by ODM leader, and unfortunately, I would say, even the head of Jubilee, who happens to also be the head of state, took a picture with the candidate as if he's leaning towards Boga. But clearly, the people are going in a different direction. And I think we need to think as Kenyans, not only about Msambweni, but in our own settings. When I was in the function on Sunday in Busia, there was heckling somebody who was promoting BBI, unfortunately. Maybe she said other things that annoyed people, but people are not enthusiastic. People are waiting to see changes that they can reflect their views in there. They're not seeing this. They're seeing this as a closed shop. I think there's anger among the people. That would be my conclusion.
All right, and we're going to take a short commercial break, Honorable Sakwa Bunyasi, but we will be right back just to look at maybe one or two other stories right here on Morning